Yeah, good morning, Borda. Good morning. Welcome to the Town Booster Reflections webinar. My name's Jen Heal. I'm the Chief Executive at the Design Commission for Wales and will be leading us through the webinar this morning. The plan is that I'll give a brief introduction to what we did as the Town Booster pilot programme. The plan is then hand over to David Engwich, although he's not actually on the call yet. So I'll see if he's here by the time I finish doing my introduction. And if he's not, I'll try and explain that bit about what we did and an overview of the programme. Then we're really grateful to have three of the local authorities who piloted this programme with us, from Blaenau Gwent, Vale of Glamorgan, and Abergele Town Council in Conwy. And they're going to share some brief reflections on their experience of the Town Booster programme for us to learn a bit more about how it went, what lessons were learnt. Then we'll do a little bit of next steps. And then there should be time, if we stick to our timings, for a bit of Q&A at the end. So please feel free to drop any questions that you have in the chat or in the Q&A section of the webinar. And I'll pick those up at the end and put those to our presenters. So just by way of background and introduction, many of you will know that at the Design Commission for Wales, we've been promoting placemaking for many years and working particularly with Welsh Government Place Division on promoting and supporting the production of placemaking plans for town centres, which are a great tool for coordinating action and thinking about the long-term direction of improvements for a town centre. But one of the key messages that we had time and time again was, how do we get to the action quicker? How do we not sort of just create plans, but how do we make things happen and support the participation of people within the towns so that they can not only see things happening, but get involved in things happening. And back last year in 2025, we held a conference at which David Engwich from Creative Communities spoke about his work in Australia in this area, about engaging communities and businesses, and the Town Booster programme, which is a short and sharp exercise of engagement and involvement in a town centre to improve a place. And we were very pleased then that Welsh Government funded a pilot for David to come from Australia to Wales to work in three towns, which are the three Abertillery, Llantwit Major and Abergele, and pilot this approach. And the Design Commission for Wales, we helped facilitate that, enabled very much by Amanda Spence, who supported us with that and who's on the call today. And that all happened back in March time, when we were just coming out of that incredibly rainy season of January to about that time. And then miraculously, a bit of sun came out for us to do this programme. So we've invited those three authorities here today to share the learning with you. We want to spread the learning from this beyond those three authorities. So it's great that you're here today to find out more. It is a pilot, so it's very much about learning, and we've asked those participating to be honest about what went well, what didn't, what they learnt, what they've taken forward, and what we can gain from that. And then thinking about, well, what next? What have they done next as a result of participating in this pilot, but also what could we do next in terms of rolling out more of this activity? So I'm going to stop sharing my slides for a moment. David's not here. I think what could be a way to fill the David gap is if we show the video of what happened in the Vale of Glamorgan. You will hopefully have seen the short reel video of that, but we created a slightly longer version which gives an overview of that process. And rather than me talk it through, if we show that video, then that will give you the overview. and then we can get into hearing from the local authorities. So let me attempt to do that.
What are the small changes that you can make in your town centre that is going to start moving it towards being a better place to be? The key to interesting places is they must tell a story.
The Town Booster programme is an intensive week-long programme of working with residents, businesses and the community to think about how to improve a town centre, culminating in a day of action within the town itself to do some physical interventions to improve the look and feel of the town. We've invited Creative Communities International to come and work with us in 3 towns across Wales to a pilot approach which is really about getting people involved in improving their town centres.
We have been specialising in making this in 1 week for about the last 20 years. We've made over town centres all across Australia and New Zealand. The Welsh Government heard about what we've been doing, so here we are, running a pilot. Town centres used to be the civic, social and cultural heart of the community. And the businesses in those town centres were the glue that kind of held that social, cultural and civic life together. And we've been gradually losing that to the point where businesses only see themselves as selling a product. They're no longer part of the glue that holds the town together. So we're here to educate the retailers, give them the tools to play a more active role, educate the residents, but just as importantly, work with council on mechanisms for them to enable that re-establishment of the civic heart of the town. What is it about that space that makes you feel at home? You're allowed to talk to me.
Through the 1 week Town Boost, we not only work with the local community on a makeover, we also engage with council on reducing red tape. So rather than a regulations basis, we work on a permissions basis. Rather than saying no you can't, because we work on yes you can if. So that opens up a lot more freedoms for local businesses. There are no preconceived master plans, big ideas that we've come in with. This is their budget and their ideas. We just help tailor those to something that's suitable for being achieved in a 1-day makeover with the resources, with the budget. And yeah, just getting as many people on board as possible.
Feelings about going into it, probably being fairly cynical. Actually, can somebody from the other side of the world come and really tell us anything about Lantwick Major? But actually, it's been a really enthusiastic approach to seeing how placemaking and how Town Boost can work to actually start to impact on our own town here in Lantwick. We regard Lantwick as a very historic town. This is the way it's always been, the way it's always going to be. And actually, no, there are other ways of looking at it.
Often I think in the council we get bogged down with, lack of funds, very long-term, big plans, and we can sort of lose the goodwill of the community, but also just the goodwill of officers. It just seems that nothing ever changes and nothing ever gets started. So this kind of small-scale Town Boost actually gives everybody a bit of a chance and a bit of excitement that we could actually make a difference within a week.
So today we've invited members of the community and businesses and various other stakeholders to talk about our Town Boost programme on Saturday. So we've had a walkover yesterday where we've identified potential areas for a short-term intervention, and today we're kind of ramping up those ideas, and we've got individual project groups working on each of the individual areas where we can source some of the materials, what funding we need to identify, what partners we need to identify in the community to bring these schemes to fruition. And so this is just a planning day really, and then on Saturday we'll be delivering elements of the scheme, if not the whole scheme.
We're starting a journey, and today we're deciding where that journey starts, what we're going to attempt to do. We've got a budget of £2,500 to spend, but we remain flexible to anything happening. Those surprises are what really add the salt and pepper. They're the seasoning that goes into it that makes it really interesting.
I like to get involved is what really brought me here. If not us, then who? You know, we can't abrogate our responsibility to our community to the outside interests like the council or whoever. It's important, I think, for people to get involved in stuff that benefits the community. I mean, we all live in the community, so why not do something that's going to benefit yourself?
This is a different approach. It's more about the people in the town and how we use the space and how we can celebrate the space that we have and the stories of the town as well. Today there seems to be a lovely impetus to move forward and to find solutions and creative solutions as well. It's so interesting always when you've got a group of people coming together to work on a project together to see where they all shift and compromise and modify their ideas too as they go. And I think it's working very well.
Round of applause for the both.
Right now we're renovating a very ugly toilet block, and we have some beautiful mural of the sea. In addition to that, down on the other end of the high street, we're improving an area close to a sort of central hub of Llantwit, the old town. What was previously a sort of just a traffic junction, we're making into a better space now.
So we're painting the tops of the bollards the same colour as the planters at the other end of town in order to connect the two ends of the town. We've got planters going in just here, which will make this into a little courtyard area and again connect the same planting that is up the other end of the town. Just over here we have a crew that are building furniture. So one of the things that we observed in the town is there's no loungy type chairs, they're all very formal. So we're introducing some informal elements, more casual seating, little picnic table for kids. Across the road here we have people washing the windows to just clean the place up. You can see the start of a town map going up over here on the wall. So it really shows what can be done on a small budget.
The vibe today is absolutely awesome. I've not come across it for years in Llantwit. Used to do lots of community stuff years ago. It fell away a bit, and then since COVID, certainly it's all fallen away a lot. But this is getting people back into being a community again. I'm loving it.
I'm so impressed by the number of volunteers that have turned out. As attractive you can make the town, I think the more beneficial it is to businesses. So I think it'll make a really positive impact.
Yeah, I think it's great that the local public take pride in what they do and where they live.
This has brightened up the community, and I just feel so grateful to these lovely people for what they're doing to brighten up our lovely Llantwit Major.
What a fantastic day. You've turned on the weather and there have been dozens of volunteers down here transforming their town centre. The fantastic thing is that there are a lot of half, which means the momentum's going to continue on next week and the week after. People are already talking about what's the next big project that they can do. So this has been all about what can we achieve in one day on a very small budget, and this has absolutely proved it in a brilliant way.
Remember to always help people and enjoy yourself while you're doing it. If you don't enjoy it, just make sure you are smiling all the time. Boost your town!
Great. Well, hopefully that gave you a good overview of what the programme was all about, really. So obviously a lot of the focus of the title of this project is about the makeover, the 1 week makeover, but there's quite a bit that went into that beforehand and afterwards, and that's really important to remember, that this isn't just about planting plants, and it's about engaging the community and thinking about what's the lead up and what comes after it. So it was a week of intense activity with several meetings in the lead up to the Saturday, which was the actual makeover period. And David and Jodie from Creative Communities were there to help facilitate that. And then, key part of it were the local authorities, the town councils, getting people involved and making it happen on the ground. So I'm going to pass over to them now for us to hear about their experience and their feedback. So we started in Abertillery, and Karen, if I could invite you to share your slides and tell us about your experience there, please.
Yes, certainly. Can I just say that the video was really, really good. I think it really captured everything that the Town Boost does. But also, we have got some wonderful schemes. We've got Transforming Towns funding, which does the bigger projects, and without that, we wouldn't see half of the significant improvements that happen within the town. But what this does is, for somebody like me that likes something to see something quick and who's a little bit impatient, and they can see, they haven't got to wait that length of time. And then there's a kind of a DIY SOS makeover of an area. It is really wonderful. And I think from our experience, the community loved it. But I'll just share my screens now and explain a little bit more about what we actually did on our makeover. Is it sharing?
Yeah, I can see the slides. They're not in presentation mode.
Just trying to get it into presentation mode. Just having a problem here with it, doing it. Okay. Is that okay now? Right, yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, so it was back in March. Like you said, we had terrible weather before, but the sun shone on the day that we actually did the makeover. And so we were really fortunate with that. Prior to that, we did quite a lot of engagement. And I think that this is the key for me, is that because this is new, the engagement was more difficult because it was an unknown kind of project that we were doing. But we publicised it well, and we had not as much interest off the business as we would have liked initially, but that did establish as the time went on. So it was available for all ages. Everybody was welcome to attend, and even if they only wanted to stay for a short time, whatever time they could spare, we were, encouraging them just to come along. And obviously David's enthusiasm spills out onto everybody else. Then we all get as positive and excited about the project. So bear with me. Oh, jumped a bit now. So the street that we decided to tackle was Somerset Street. Now, Somerset Street, as you can see from the pictures, is very narrow. Even it is open for traffic October to March, but then we've got a seasonal pedestrianisation there, which has been the case for a few years. And then we've decided to make it, from the experimental order, a permanent pedestrianisation during those months. So it felt a little bit unloved. We needed to make it look more welcoming. The shop that you can see was is being developed. It was filled with building materials, and they where the sponsor is opposite there, basically that's filled with tables and chairs, and during the summer months people are out there having a coffee, socializing, and they were looking on to this kind of unsightly shop. So what we did, as well as the town boost, where we invited volunteers to do the smaller projects, we aligned some of our bigger projects, which was through discussions, let's get a vinyl wrap in there and let's showcase one of our landmarks, which was Come to Leary Lakes, and we vinyl wrapped the window. So when people are sat there, you know, enjoying the fine weather, they're looking onto a local beauty spot. I also brought in some bunting to kind of just brighten up the area. So that was done with contractors on the day, but in support of the project that we were actually going ahead with. So then we had shutters that were looking really run down, you know, as absent landlords. They'd kind of just, you know, not done anything to the buildings for quite a while. So through our discussions with the group, we said, fortunately we had some creative artists that came along, and they said we'd love to paint a scene of the valleys and of the local area. So that's what we did, and it turned out really lovely. It's really, this is just like, you know, where they were able to manage within a day. They went on developing this project for weeks and weeks and weeks, and it's really lovely. Everybody comments on how much brighter it looks, how much cleaner, how much it celebrates where we live. So that was part of it. And then just a very simple idea. We had these black bollards in the street, and we decided that through the, you know, the talking with the groups and the businesses and the elected members were totally on board with this. Let's put some gold caps on there. Let's try and just make them look a little bit different and a little bit new, and very simple, easy project, but it has had a significant impact. There's the bunting being installed, which gave that, like I said, that lift instantly to the street. There's the volunteers. Some of the work involved just cleaning the shutters, and we thought that initially we were going to have to paint these, but through a clean of it, we didn't need to. It came back, you know, in perfect condition. So that was just another part of the project that we've done. But the publicity that we had from this was overwhelming. The community, you know, they're walking past, it was going, oh, this is lovely to see. In fact, it's kind of snowballs, and I'll go on to that a little bit later. Oh, the wrong way. So the project in itself was, the timing perhaps was a little bit unfortunate because there was a big rugby match on the day. So we had a lot of people come in the morning, and then they all wanted to leave then in the evening, in the afternoon, to go and watch the rugby match. But with regards to the project itself, if I can just say a little bit what has happened from this project. We are now looking to roll it out into another town, which is happening on, I think it's the middle of August. We're taking this project to Bramau, which is another town in the borough. We're a federated model with Torvine, and Torvine have seen the approach that we've taken. They are taking on this project and doing 3 towns within the Torvine area. They're going to mirror what we do on the next event, and then they're going to roll that out into the 3 towns there. But a number of interesting things that have come about from this is that another group has started to do some shutter art in another part of the town that we're helping facilitate. This is a bit of a double-edged sword because we painted those shutters, and this week I've had the landlady of the property ring me and say, Karen, I need you to paint the shutter back black. And I'm like, oh no, we don't want to do that. And I said, why? She said, because I've managed to let this property that's been empty for so long, it's going to be an estate agent's. They want to kind of do, you know, a nice shop front design, and that artwork doesn't fit in with it. So although I'm disappointed, what we hope to achieve was that we get these properties filled, that we bring life back into there. So obviously I let the groups know that, you know, this is that we're going to have to paint over it, but that is the outcome that we wanted. We want businesses back in the town, and I don't believe that would have happened had we not done this project. So that shows the success of it as far as I'm concerned. And like I said, we've now expanded even further, that this area is now going to be used for events. So I've got a beach party, which I'll be doing in a few weeks' time, in a different area, but we're going to use this area as well, and we're going to have some crafting and some activities going on there as well, because it looks so nice and it's so welcoming, and the businesses that are there saying, you know, can you include us? So it's brought back a bit of community spirit as well, which is really good. And from seeing this project in other towns, where off the video, I was actually inspired because I've been following it, and the toilet block in one of the main town centres, Eberville, I actually commissioned an artist, engaged with some groups, and we've put artwork on that, and it looks absolutely fantastic. So there is an element of sharing with one another as well, sharing good practices. This worked well in this authority, this town, and then we can kind of all learn from that. But the biggest lesson that I think I've got is that it doesn't need to be a huge scale intervention to make a difference. You know, we have multi-million projects that take years and years to come to fruition, but on a small scale, we can still achieve an impact that the community can see, and more importantly, they can get involved with. So I'm like fully supportive of the project. I think getting that community feel back isn't easy. There are barriers to overcome. As you know, there's always the feeling of, well, this isn't my shop, this isn't my property, they should be doing it themselves. But one example was that we had one shop owner that initially, when we started the work on the Saturday morning, we said, oh, do you want to get involved? And he was like, no. A few hours later, he was involved, he was painting, and he was actually helping on other people's shops as well. So it's just sometimes it needs that shove in the right direction, and just kind of going back a little bit in time to what we used to be like community-wise, and how we want to support one another. Our towns are really important to us. If we didn't have them, we'd be solely reliant on online shopping, which isn't good for anybody. We really do need to support them in any way that we can. The one point that I took from it was that sometimes expecting the community to come to us isn't necessarily the way forward. When we do the project next time, we are going to reach out and we are going to attend some of the groups that we know that you know, we've got a museum meet regularly on a Friday, knit and natter groups, and the cadets and things like that. We're going to go to them and tell them about the project and then invite them along, rather than saying, this is what's happening, come to us. We think that that approach could work as well. So we're going to do a mixture of both. So I will feedback on whether that made a difference. But I won't keep you any longer, but that was just an overview of Blaenau Gwent's experience, and it was really positive.
Great, thanks, Karen. That's really, really good to hear. I popped along to Abertillery on the makeover day, and I timed it just as the bacon sandwiches were being brought round, so I felt a little bit cheeky. But it was great to see the activity there, and just, you know, people cleaning the shop fronts made such a big difference to that street, and started to brighten it up. And then obviously people walking through to go to the pub to watch the rugby were like, oh, what's happening? And yeah, it had a really great vibe. So yeah, thanks for reflecting that. Great. I will pass over now to Nicola, who's going to talk us through Vale of Glamorgan's experience in Llantwit Major. Obviously, you've seen the video, but she'll tell you a little bit more about how that's gone since then, really. Over to you, Nicola.
Thanks, Jen. Morning, everybody. Just get the slides up. Okay, yeah, so thank you for having me along today. It's really nice to hear how others got on, and also to share our experience. So yeah, our town was Llantwit Major, as you saw in the video. Hopefully I'll be able to add a bit of value to the background, as well as sharing a bit of insight as to why some of those sites were chosen. So the first one, oh, sorry, screen's not moving on. There we go. Yeah, so the first site that you saw on the video was this toilet block at the end of town. If you don't know Lantwick Major, it's a kind of town of two halves. We have this sort of more sort of 70s, 80s development at one end of the town. And then we have the historic quarter at the other end. We identified this toilet block as a potential makeover space in our initial walk around with David and Jodie, and then with our colleagues on one of the days. And we thought we might just paint it white or just give it a little facelift. But when we had the community come together and we did the walk around with them, they really gravitated to this space. They really wanted to upgrade it, and you see the volunteers here, Andy and Georgia, they were really keen. They came up with this design, and they fully took responsibility for planning out, getting the materials, instructing the volunteers, and they did a really good effort with a really good group of people on the town makeover day. But also since then, they've made sure that both ends are painted, the inside has been painted as well. They've taken responsibility for watering the planters, and all of that. So that's fantastic. And just to say that these volunteers are new to us. They're not people that we had engaged with previously. They heard about the programme, they turned up on the day, they stayed for the week, and they basically haven't left, which is just fantastic. The other site, we're just referring to it as Cutch Corner. It's not an official name, because of that restaurant, the Cutch on the corner, which is actually closed. But you can see in one of the photos in the top right there that the windows look a bit different, because the owners turned up on the day, a bit like Karen was saying, in one of their shops. They came, they cleaned the windows, they took the curtains down, they just kind of really tidied it up. We chose this spot because it's kind of the midway point between the old part of the town and the new part of the town, and we wanted to do something to just invigorate the space and encourage people to linger. The bakehouse, really helpful and encouraging. They already had a couple of tables and chairs, but you can see that we've put out these wooden ones, these planters, a bit like in the previous town. We painted the tops of the bollards, and we went with this coastal theme for our makeover spaces, because Lantwick Major is a coastal town, but it's not directly on the beach, so you can walk around the town and not know you're anywhere near the coast. So this is the theme we tried to bring in, and those bollard tops are the same colour as some of the planters in the newer end of the town. We also painted this town map on the side of the wall, which is ongoing. We're not quite done with it yet. And that bottom right-hand picture was actually just taken the following day, and it looks totally staged. We've got cyclists there, walkers, people looking, people enjoying the space. But I promise you, this is just what happened the next day. And actually, since then, that alley, if you like, or that space between those two restaurants, the Bakehouse restaurant has actually taken responsibility and put up some lighting and bunting in that space as well. So it's really made that much more welcoming, and a different way to access the town. In terms of things that went well, the structure of the programme was to have a day where we had officers from the Vale of Glamorgan Council, the Town Council, and other key stakeholders to come and understand what the Town Boost was all about, and why it's important to regenerate towns, but also how. And David and Jodie do a fantastic job of illustrating that. And then there was the planning day. We had a really good turnout, even though it was a Wednesday, I think, daytime. We were lucky with the turnout. I think we might have had a different group of people at a different time, but for us that worked. So we're grateful. And the resources that David and Jodie brought along, you can see there in the top right, those Town Boost ideas sheets, and then there's planning sheets, and these are all wipe clean. And just those resources are actually really helpful just to move things along. So I think that went really well. In terms of challenges, the time is always a challenge when you're trying to do something quickly. For those of you who don't know, we joined the programme quite late, so we actually only had a couple of weeks' notice to mobilise, which was fine. It meant we had a really concentrated effort. The programming of the week didn't necessarily work for us, so you can see there the Tuesday info night was fine. As I mentioned, the planning day worked well for us. But in terms of engaging businesses and the offer for them, expecting them to do an online module and then turn up to business workshops on midweek mornings really didn't work for us. And we did loads of work to try and get people there. You know, people on the team who were on this call went door to door to every business. We delivered information. We went back again. We couldn't have done any more in the time that we had, but we still didn't have many engaged. So that was definitely a challenge. So that wasn't so great for us. And just quickly in terms of what's next, we have a town board for each of our 4 towns in the Vale of Glamorgan. We had representatives from each of those town boards, both Vale of Glamorgan Council, Town Council and other representatives from each of those towns. We invited them to all of the Landtwit activity, and they came along to the workshops, they came along to the makeovers. They've been really inspired to do something themselves. So in the other 3 towns, it's now a standing agenda item on our town board bi-monthly meetings, and there's plans for each of the towns to be doing something similar, hopefully during this year, to try and kickstart some activity based on the placemaking plans. But also in Landtwit Major, they're really keen to make this an annual event. It's been really well received. And there's, as I mentioned, there's some of the volunteers there that are really keen to stay involved. So they are now actually setting up a subgroup of the town board to enable some of that activity to go on. And then just that little logo at the top there, the Green Light Thinking Group. This is actually a group that's evolved as a result of the officers' workshop. So I know David asked for volunteers to set up, he called it a red tape group. And then when we got together, we actually changed it from red tape to green light. And the idea of this group is that we help try and solve some of those problems that take time for, activity in towns to take place. So on that group, we've got ourselves from the regeneration team, we've got colleagues from tourism and from events and from our neighbourhood services colleagues, and we're working together to try and get through things more quickly, have discussions about table and street licenses, permission statements about things we can do on the street. But it's also led to other discussions around how we can expedite things like reducing the red tape around holding events and particularly markets. So we've had some really good discussions about how we might set up a market in another town really quickly as a result of these discussions. So that's my brief sharing. I hope I've managed to add something that you didn't learn from the video, but I'd just like to say really grateful for the whole thing, and I'm really happy that the video for us encapsulates our whole week. So thank you. And yeah, the sun came out. Thanks, Jen.
Yes, absolutely. I know. It looks like we've arranged that. The next town you'll see that was a bit of a mixed picture, but yes. And I'm really grateful for you, Vale of Glamorgan, like you say, stepped up rather last minute to take advantage of this opportunity. So we're really grateful for that. Again, I came down on the makeover day to see what was happening, and there's so much good energy and enthusiasm, and so much getting done. It was great to see, and really helpful to see what's happened afterwards, both in terms of kind of physical activity, but also thinking and ways of working. That's really good to see and to hear. Thank you very much. I am going to pass over to Abigail next to talk us through what happened in Abergele. Last but not least, I will spotlight you, Abigail, and turn Nicola off. Yeah, if you want to talk us through your experience, that'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm just going to pull my slides up. Oh, can you see them at all?
I can see them, but they're not in presentation mode at the moment. So that's... If you go on slideshow, then that should give you the option to write a bit.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
That's it.
Thank you. There we go, sorted.
Yeah, perfect.
Perfect. Thank you so much for asking us to come. We loved this project, and it's been a really great experience, just lots of really positive feedback. And, you know, I think all of us on the call know how hard won that positive feedback can be. So this was just a really great experience. On the first slide there, you can see basically what we did. So we had the library forecourt there in the before shot, looking a bit unloved, and then some of the different things that we took on during the day. So, you know, Abigail is quite typical in that it's an old market town, very narrow streets. So the library forecourt was a good opportunity to take advantage of a larger space. And actually it was very good because we were able to keep everyone together. Prior to the project, I'd been a bit concerned that if we split out over different projects, over different areas, we might have someone working all on their own, you know, in a corner. So this was a great way to keep everyone together. That said, during the day, people did wander off and, you know, take it further. There was weeding through the town. There were some groups that had taken on planters that brought them along to get them refurbished. So it did have that knock-on effect with people doing things through the town. So we can see people here cleaning. We've got some planters, took advantage of David and Jodie's show don't tell philosophy there with the sculptural element, with the books, and we also leaned into the seaside theme there with the seating. And that bench there that you can see in the bottom, that is all of these things, the railings, it's all reflected from our place plan branding kit. And that was a little bit scary for us because our place plan hasn't been adopted as SPG and we are in a conservation area. But fortunately, we had some colleagues from our local authority, Conway County Council there, and they were able to get some approvals in principle, which were then confirmed after the date. So that was a big relief for us. And that it's really brightened up the space there. And then just what went well, this was collaboration. I mean, I think we had a little bit of a different tack, didn't we, that Abigail was had applied to do the project, but obviously the collaboration with Conway County Council was essential there. We had officers with us throughout the entire week, asking questions that needed to be asked, getting permissions that needed to be gotten before we could move forward. I think, you know, without that collaboration between local authority and the town council, we would have been sort of dead in the water before we started. Really great week. I was really pleasantly surprised. People really did buy in. People, you know, came along, they gave their ideas, they invested their time, and it was just such a really heartening experience. And I think, as others have alluded to, the fact that it was done in 7 days, you know, that short, sharp shock, it's very visible. People can see what's happening. Things aren't lost, you know, to weeks of consultation, and it really has made a huge difference. I think as well, you know, the continuing conversations that we've had afterwards. So there's been, as I said, lots of positive feedback. You can see on my slide there, we had 86 people loving something or liking it. And that's, you know, not usual. You know, when we do things as local authority, town council, we're used to some negativity. We didn't have one single negative comment or, you know, feedback about that. People were just so excited to see something happening and happening quickly. And it's continued. Conversations with the business forum, conversations with residents, conversations between ourselves as town council and the local authority. So it's been really great, and that teamwork makes the dream work. That was somebody I've redacted their names obviously, but that was a member of the public who's commented that. So that was, you know, great to see. What we learned, I've been really honest here about what we learned. So I've said we built the plane while flying it, and now we're tightening a few bolts. So you know, it was fantastic, that strong energy, that momentum on the day, creative communities, you know, brilliant. The way they, you know, inspired and captured everybody's buy-in was fantastic. And I think sometimes, you know, when we're very close to the situation and we're here every day, we get a little bit lost in the histories or the personalities, and they were just able to cut through all that and bring everyone in. So that energy was great. But what we also did was we got a little bit caught up in that energy. And so now we've got a couple of snagging bits that we're dealing with. You can see there, one of the play elements has been assessed by our risk assessor, and they've said that we need to remove that. So there are some logistical and cost implications. And one of the items that we purchased for the play space didn't arrive, and we're sort of navigating a little bit of a complex complaints and refunds process. This wouldn't have happened if we'd sort of followed our normal protocols. So, you know, just being mindful that we need to balance that excitement and enthusiasm with some of our protocols. Our communication, you know, the town council, we always try really hard, and I think we probably all experienced this, where you think you're hitting the mark with every, you know, every communication avenue that's available to you. And like the previous town said, you know, we'd gone walking in the town, so local authority, ourselves, the mayor, ourselves, some of the officers, you know, 3 different occasions walking the town, and then still there was a group that had felt left out. So it's just, you know, it's accepting that it's never going to be perfect, but just to keep working towards that. It's just key to make sure that no one feels excluded before you've even started. And maybe what else we learned, biting off a bit more than we can chew. I mean, I think David and Jody made it clear that it's fine if you don't finish everything on the day, because it's something to continue working on and to keep that momentum going. But I think that, you know, for us particularly, at the end of the day, there were some very tired volunteers. We were the last town, so I know Jody and David were also exhausted. So, you know, we might have rejigged things in the future just to make sure that everyone leaves feeling really good instead of feeling really bedraggled. And what we've done since, well, we all had a great big sleep. We recovered, reflected. We did send thank you letters to everyone who came along on the day and helped us. We've done lots of reporting, so meetings like this to town council. This has been discussed in the business forum, which is facilitated by Conway County Council. You know, gathered lots of feedback. And the best thing is that through the collaboration with the County Council, we have booked in some tentative dates to continue more Town Boost activities. And I think that was really important, is, you know, when you put something in the calendar, it becomes real. And so that's what we're hoping to do moving forward. I think really important that I say that, you know, the presentation we're doing here is Abergele Town Council, but that collaboration with the local authority was invaluable. You know, we've had confirmation from conservation since then that some of those place plan branding colors can be incorporated into the business premises, which they wouldn't have known before. So it sparked quite a lot of, you know, positive chat about things that can be done as opposed to what can't be done, which is great. When I was putting this little slideshow together, I thought I should probably put the local authority logo on it because they were so instrumental in the day, but then I realized I'd probably have to go through their comms team, and I thought, no, just carry on. But just really, it's worth mentioning. And on the day, we had a lot of laughs. So we had one of the members of the local authority who said, well, people said, what are you doing? And she said, well, if you can't do the time, don't do the crime. So we had a bit of a laugh about that. We did have some hail that came through, some enthusiastic volunteers who continued painting through the hail. Unfortunately, we did find that the paint dripped, but, you know, hey ho, we carried on, and all was well.
Great, thank you very much. Yeah, really good to hear those reflections as well, of what went well, what you've continued doing, and what lessons you've learned. As I said at the beginning, this was very much a pilot, so it was very much about learning and understanding what does work and what we perhaps could do differently or better. So that's great to hear. Thank you for those reflections. If for those listening in, if you've got any questions, please do put those in the chat. And I've also asked a question in the Q&A that if would you be interested in doing something like this in your town, and if so, or in one of your towns or your area, whatever it is that you work in, and if so, what would you need to get that going? I can see David has joined us, so for the last 10 minutes, it would be great to hear from you, David. I'm guessing we perhaps had an issue with time times across across the world. But if you're there, David, and you want to come in, this last section was very much earmarked for next steps. And whilst we don't have an official sort of next step rollout of this, David has been thinking about what could happen next and putting together some options for that. And, you know, obviously, there are things that the authorities who have participated in this have taken forward themselves. So there is stuff that can be done by yourself. But yeah, David, if you wanted to come in and share your reflections on the learning and next steps, that would be brilliant. Thanks, David.
So sorry, I think you guys must be on daylight saving or something.
No
I did
worries.
Google what was the translation in time. Obviously, it didn't give me the right answer. Yeah, so as Jenna said, this was very much a trial based on experiments that we'd been doing. So for those of you who don't know, we pioneered a process called the 7-day makeover, where we make over town centres in 7 days. We've done that in about 30 towns across Australia and New Zealand. We began wondering whether we could do it in a shorter time than that. And to get it done in 7 days, we had to invent whole new processes. So the 1 week town boost was like a condensed version of the 7-day makeover, ending in a 1-day makeover. One of the things that didn't work well, but which we've learned an awful lot about, is that we've known for probably the last 15, 20 years that we've been working in town centres that the retailers are the key to whether your town centre is going to survive or thrive. And we've been developing teaching resources for that. To illustrate what we mean by that is that we liken revitalising a town centre to like creating a great theatre. And it doesn't matter how much money you spend on plush seating and nice carpeting and beautiful lighting. Unless somebody puts on a show in that theatre, you've just got an empty building. And traditionally what councils have done is thought that just renovating the theatre would bring the town centre to life. And the people who are there to put on the show are the retailers themselves. And without going into the reasons for these, most retailers don't understand that. So we've developed teaching materials that help the retailers put on a better show in the town centre, and we believe that brings the town centre to life. So one of the experiments that we ran for the 1 week town boost is we made that training available online for retailers to do in their own time. And then we scheduled 2 workshops to have with the businesses where we could build on that and help each of the businesses develop a business booster plan or a till booster plan that would benefit their business but also benefit the whole town centre. The first 2 towns, well, I should say in all 3 towns, I think we had probably 2 or 3 businesses who actually did the training. And we realised partway through that the reason for that is what you can do in your own time whenever you please never gets done. And the only place that we really gained some traction on that was in the last town where we had about 5 or 6 of the retailers turned up for the workshops, and kind of because none of them had done the training, I basically said, oh, well, let's do the training while you're here. And we showed them the training modules and we got them to do an audit on their business. And the next night they came back, and the goal of the workshop was to get them to identify some practical things they could do to attract more customers and enliven the town centre. And they came back the next night and they were all enthusiastic. Some of them said, look, we've done ours already. So when we came back to Australia and we did an analysis of the program and started thinking, so right from the start, what we were interested in doing was developing this program to a point where councils could implement it themselves without us being physically present. So obviously we can't fly over every 5 minutes to do another town. And as we've thought about that process of how we could do that, we really have identified that enabling your local businesses to bring the town centre to life themselves is what we would call the foundation of the whole process. Now, while the one-day makeovers were highly successful and there's been good roll-on from that, that's partly to do with the 30 years experience we've had running those kind of events, whereas the business training was, I guess, the newer of the areas that we were trying to get some runs on the board. And what we've learned over those 30 years, it really doesn't matter how much you spend on your town centre if you're not enabling your businesses to put on a better show and attract people to the town centre, then at the end of the day, all of the improvements kind of lose their impact. And now that's not to say that the one-day makeovers aren't important. It's to say that we think that training your businesses. So what we're playing with at the moment is releasing a first module that will be a do-it-yourself module that any council can do. And that has 5 steps in it. The first step is creating a business boost team, which is a support team that will involve some council officers, your Chamber of Commerce, community leaders, etc. And they will actually, right at the start, do the same training that the businesses will do so that they can support the businesses in town. One of the things we know from experience is that most businesses think that the council has forsaken them, they're all on their own, they're struggling, and perception is reality for them in the sense of we need to turn around this idea that, council's only there to sabotage their success and nobody really cares about them. So we think setting up a support team that has actually had the training that they're going to get is an important first step, and that really wasn't part of the one-week town boost that we trialled. The next step or the next change that we've made to the way that we ran things in the one-week town boost is that will then be followed by an informal information night. So we're not asking businesses to commit a huge amount of time or energy or anything, just get them to a wine and cheese night where we show them a 4-minute video that gets them really excited about being part of a business boost program. And then step 3 would be that they would do the same training that the business boost team has done, but their task is to identify one thing that they could do in a 1-week time frame that would improve their business or improve the town centre. And so the training actually walks them through doing an audit process that would be done in a single workshop, either of an evening or a breakfast workshop. And all they'd be supported by the Business Boost team that are from council and chamber that have done the training previously. To help them identify that 1 or 2 things that they could do in a very short period of time on a very low budget or no budget at all that would make a significant difference. Step 4, which we didn't have as part of the town boost, but this is one of the things we've learnt, would be to have an action week. And that's a week where the businesses all implement what they've chosen to do with the support of the support team. And then the other thing that we didn't have as part of Town Boost that we realised afterwards was a significant, or could be a significant improvement, is what we've called Animation Week or Celebration Week. Which is where we actually celebrate everything that the businesses have done. And it's about getting people to come back and enjoy the town centre again, rediscover the town centre, connect with the businesses. So there's not much use, kind of renovating or putting on a good show in the theatre if we don't get people to come to the show. So that Animation Week is all about getting residents to come back. And then what we're proposing, we'll release that as module 1. That'll be a foundational module. We will potentially offer that with email support, phone support. We may even do it as a cohort training, so 5 or 6 councils could all do it simultaneously. We would help walk you through it. And then we will add the next module, which is the one-day makeover module, which will then build on the success that you get out of that, getting your businesses on site, getting your businesses active. So that's basically what we've learned. We are great believers that everything in life is a trial and a test, and it's about what did you learn from it, how can you improve. So the 1 week town boost was the best of what we had experienced and knew and developed up to this point. So now it's time for the next stage of the rollout of the next improvement, basically.
Great, thank you, David. That's really helpful. Thank you.
Questions.
Yes, I'm conscious we've gone a little bit over the time we said we would spend, but very happy to hang on if people would like to for a little bit to answer some questions. I suppose relating to what you were just describing there, David, in terms of what might be on offer next, there's a question around, is there a cost to businesses being a part of this training / business boost? So the pilot was funded by Welsh Government, so there was no cost to the local authority or any participants involved. What the cost to the local authority was the £2,500 of money to get the stuff happening on the day. So what you just described there, David, is a model whereby there would be a cost associated with purchasing the training, but then that wouldn't be passed on to the businesses. It would be something that the local authority would take on. Is that right, David?
That's correct. Yes, I don't think, given the situation that most businesses in these town centres are in, even if we asked them for $10, I think or £10, sorry, they'd probably find it hard. No, so the model is that we provide every single thing that you need to run that Business Boost module. So that includes emails, advertising brochures, facilitation videos. For every activity there'll be a facilitation video, so you just press play. There'll be a facilitator's guide that says, open with this statement, like press the play, etc. At this point, and we'll be doing that with a group called, or they're now called Doing Company, but they run a platform that this would be on. So it'd be very much like an online course where you just go and it says, okay, first thing you need to do is send out these invites to your council staff and to your Chamber of Commerce, and here's the brochure for it. Come back to us when you've done that, and here's the next thing you've got to do. So very much like a course, just walking you through, but providing you with the collateral. We think that's probably going to retail for around about £2,500 if you're doing it yourself. If you want support, like coaching calls and stuff, it'll probably be about £5,000. That's just our thinking at the moment. Don't kill me if we come back with something slightly different.
Yes, it's a work in progress at this stage. Yeah,
yeah,
great,
but
thank you.
really what we want to do is to be able to give you the resources to be able to run it at the absolute lowest possible kind of cost. And then if we do it as in cohorts where there might be, 10 councils all doing that module together, then we can probably offer some other kind of deal.
Great, thank you. There's a couple of other questions. So this one might be for you, Nicola. Perhaps from your experience so far, what are the easiest things to green light in terms of placemaking, or what are the biggest red tape to cross in terms of regulation? Have you had experience of things that you've managed to green light so far in terms of placemaking?
Yeah, happy to take that. I think what we're learning is the easiest things to green light are the things that are already within the council's gift or power, and just trying to unpick from our colleagues in other departments what is a policy that the council has written and is in their gift to change, and what is actually based on regulation. So, for example, street licensing for paying for having tables and chairs outside on the street, that's entirely within the council's gift to remove or to reduce or to offer a discount or to change or to issue really quickly should you want to do something off the cuff in a town boost week, rather than working with the business to make an application. So I think I'm picking the difference between, and not everybody knows, I certainly didn't know what's the difference between regulation and just council policy. And even in some councils, that policy will take time to change, depending on how involved your processes are with cabinet and elected members and so on. But yeah, we found that there can be some really quick wins where the council has the gift to be able to change things from their own policy and regulation to actually something that's a permission, and just working through those things. In terms of the biggest red tape to cross is kind of the other end of the scale then. So there are things that are regulatory that are really difficult to change off the cuff. That's not to say that they couldn't be changed long term. So in the example I used earlier, where we're having some discussions around setting up some market spaces and some events, what we're learning is some of that stuff is difficult to do really quickly. You might not do that in a town boost week, for example, because things like road closures have to be publicised, and that's a regulation that's not council led. But from talking to our neighbourhood services colleagues, we're learning that there's ways to expedite that over a longer period of time. Sorry, that sounds like a bit of an oxymoron, but rather, if we anticipate that something might be regular, for example, like a monthly market, about having one notice for road closures that says on every Sunday, the first Sunday of the month, and putting out one notice, so you've already got that in place for the rest of the year. So there are things that can be expedited, but there are things that are just regulatory that we can't necessarily roll out. That's just a couple of quick examples from our green light thinking group.
I think an important another distinction to be made is that a lot of what the businesses think is red tape doesn't actually exist. It's a perception. So just sorting that out and saying to them, no, you are allowed to do X, Y, or Z when they think they can't is a really important way of green lighting activity.
Yeah. So being really clear on the things you can do is a first step. Yeah, great, thank you. Just a couple more questions, and then we will have to finish off, because I'm sure people have got things to go to. So a question for David: could the business boost model that you've just described there, and the online resource and materials, be used by a grassroots town mapping action group / placemaking team that we are forming that currently doesn't have a local authority person. We'll invite and include the local authority when they're ready to come and play. So could it be used by a non-local authority group that are looking to do things in their town?
Absolutely. So I guess we've envisaged it could be run by a business association or a residents progress association, whatever. I guess what I would caution though is that I think that the local authority needs to be a partner in that process, even if they're not funding it. To say I think you really do need their support, because that very first step of forming the support team, I think needs to have your key council staff on that support team, so that when you go to that first meeting with the businesses all aren't saying, oh, the local authority just gets in our way all the time. You know, they need to be there saying, no, look, we're wanting to support you, and this is how we're supporting you, even if they're not putting the dollars up.
Great, thank you. There's a question which I'm not sure we'll be able to answer directly, but how easy would this be to do on a street level? I think this is talking about the sort of the street makeover side of things. Looking to get more greenery on streets, but finding the council to be a blocker. I think this comes down to using this as a tool to change mindsets and cultures within a local authority, to shift from being a blocker to being an enabler, which will take time, and perhaps looking at it for one space in a town centre as a starting point, and then eventually there could be benefits at a neighbourhood level, a wider level across an authority. So I would say that, you know, encourage your local authority to look at this, and look at particularly the piece around enabling the community to do more and removing those barriers, and there may be some improvement there. I don't know if anyone wants to add anything to that. Okay, one more and then we'll finish, because we've run over, and people have got things to get to. What is the biggest mindset shift that town leaders, local authorities or partnerships need to make in order to create thriving town centres in today's evolving economic environment? Oof, good question, big question. Anyone want to have a go at that? David.
I'll have a go. Well, there are a number of big shifts, but the number one shift, I think, is teaching businesses that thriving town centres will only happen if they stop selling products and start selling experiences. And it's called building the experience economy. And that's the future of all of the town centres that are struggling. Is they will never compete with the out-of-town shopping centres and online shopping on the basis of the product that they're providing. It'll be on the quality of the experience. And I think the number one key thing is that our town centres have lost their social, cultural and civic functions. So that was the glue that kind of held them together for decades. And it's about teaching businesses and communities and councils how to rebuild that civic, social and cultural life of the town centre. And that's the experience. That's going to be why people come back to the town centre. It will be for the products will be fantastic, but the experience will be even better.
Great, really helpful answer, thank you. And I think that's something, you know, everybody involved in town centres can be thinking about. How does the experience of coming to your town centre improve and provide something that's attractive to people? Karen, Nicola, Abigail, thank you so much for your participation today. Really helpful. Any final words from you before we close?
just thank you for the opportunity, Amanda, for us to take part. You know, to have this opportunity, which we're now rolling out into other towns, we wouldn't have considered it. The support from David was great, and it was a lovely experience. And like I said, I think one of the other councils mentioned, when you see positivity, for a council to get positivity on social media isn't easy. When you get comments like, well done, wow, this is brilliant, this is great, repeatedly on these projects, it can not only just motivate the community, the businesses, but it motivates the officers to carry on doing these projects. So I'd just like to thank you for the opportunity of being able to take part.
Great, thank you.
Can I just say one last, I don't know if it's the last thing, but anyway, you know, without people like Karen and Nicola and the others that were on the ground doing stuff, this wouldn't have been half as successful as it was. I'm blown away by the level of enthusiasm and talent there is on local councils. And unfortunately for a lot of you, it's really, really, really hard work because you don't have the tools to create the kind of change you know is actually possible. And that's what motivates us. We want to give every council staff person that has the kind of passion that you guys have tools that can actually make a real difference. And you're not just sitting there spinning your wheels at meeting after meeting and strategy after strategy. Give you the tools to actually make real change happen.
Great.
So
yeah,
hats off to all of your council staff.
Absolutely, yeah. And you know, every team we work with, there is so much commitment to what you're trying to do. So yeah, I absolutely agree. Thank you for that, and we wouldn't be able to do it without you. I will draw things to a close here. Thanks again for our participants, Karen, Abigail, Nicola and David. Thank you for all those attending. Hopefully that's been a helpful reflection of what we did, but also what we can learn and what we can take forward. Hopefully there will be more to come, and we will let you know what happens next. If you have any follow-up questions or queries, do feel free to get in touch. If you have people who you think would benefit from hearing today, we will be turning it into a video which will go onto our YouTube channel so people can watch it back. But yeah, thank you for coming. Enjoy the rest of your day. Happy sunny Friday. Take care, everybody. Goodbye.